Okay, in this video, we're going to learn how to take our drawing and put it into layout space in AutoCAD. So down at the bottom, like we've discussed before, here's our model space that we're in right now. We're going to move over to layout. So I'm going to click on that layout tab. When I click over in layout, I have something called a viewport, which is looking into my model space. I like to actually delete that out from the beginning. And then now we have just a blank page. If we want to know what kind of page we're working with, we can right click on that layout tab and we can go to page setup manager. Page setup manager is basically going to tell us a little bit about our page and our size of our page. I can add a new page in or modify this current one, but right now we're going to keep it as this is the default 8.5 by 11 size A paper. So when I go to do my actual layout here, I can throw in a title block. Okay, to add a title block, I'll show that in a later video, but for right now, we're just going to bring in our viewport and we're going to add a scale to it. So to go to our viewport, I'm just going to go to the layout tab, which is up here. It's a contextual tab that only pops up when we're in layout mode in this layout tab. I'm going to go up to rectangular viewport. I'm going to make it larger than the page. The reason I like to make it larger than the page is so I don't have to worry about this border printing. If this border is inside of here, these lines will actually print the edge of the viewport. If I make it outside the drawing, I don't have to worry about that. Now, if I want to actually affect the model, I have to click on something down here in the bottom where it says paper. This means I'm interacting with the paper itself. When I click on this and it says model, now I can zoom in and out of the model. So I'm going to go down there, I'm going to click on paper. So now it says model, and I have different options. These are all contextual. Right here, I want to pay attention to this. This is the scale. This scale I can change so that way I can accurately represent what I've drawn to real size. So I'm going to try and make this a 1:1 scale right now. I can also turn off the grid because I don't want to print that grid out. And then I can lock this in. So I'm going to change my scale to 1:1. And I'm going to move my picture over. If there's things in my model that I don't want to see, I can also delete those out now at this time. Or if I didn't want to delete them, I could grab my model. I could do the move command. I could grab that over and I could just slide it off to the side and then use the pan button by clicking in the mouse wheel to then center that on my page. When I use the pan button, I need to make sure I don't accidentally scroll in or out of my drawing because notice it'll mess up my scale. So I'll go and I'll change that back to 1:1. Now that this is centered, there's nothing else on the drawing and I'm at a 1:1 scale, I'm pretty much good to go. If I think I'm good, I'm going to go to the bottom corner here and I'm going to hit this lock button. This lock button is going to make sure that I don't accidentally zoom in or out again. Now, if I try to zoom in or out, it's not going to affect my drawing. I can then go back, click on where it says model. I'm back in paper space. I'm now interacting with the page. If I hit F7 now, I'd see a whole grid pop up all around, and that's being overlaid into the page. If I go back to model and hit F7, you'll see when I hit the F7 button, it basically turns on and off the grid in my model space. I'm going to go back to where it says paper. And now I'm basically good to go. This is where I could throw in my title block, which is basically an overlaid piece of information, including my name and any other information about the drawing I want to put in here. But for today, we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go to File, Print, and we're going to print this as a PDF. So now that I'm in print, I can change my plotter name to Adobe PDF. And then I can say my paper size. Right now it says A4. That's fine. We'll go with the default that's on there. I can say landscape because that's the orientation I want. Pretty much all these other settings are fine. If I had something that had a transparency, like a color in here, I could check that box or not. Everything else is fine for what I want. So I'm just going to say OK. And it's going to save it as an Adobe PDF. Since I'm saving it as a PDF, it's an electronic file. And now it's asking me where do I want to save it. Let's save it to our OneDrive just so we have cloud storage. And if you don't have your CAD folder yet, right click, say new, and say folder. And let's just name that CAD. Go into our CAD folder. We're going to save it as our initials, underscore, and then the name of the drawing. I'm going to then say save. As this saves, you'll actually see the PDF come up. My default says it opens up the PDF. I can see it. Control-0 gives you the whole page, and I can see where I'm set up. Now here, it seems to have printed in a different orientation than I thought it would. So I could go back to AutoCAD. And when I go to my print settings, File, Print, I can change those. So I can go back to Adobe PDF, and I might need to change this to like portrait and try that again. And I can just see how that adjusts, right? I want it to print in the same orientation that I have here on my screen. There's one last way you can print if you have problems with this. You can go to File, you can go to Export. File, Export PDF is another way to PDF. So File, Export PDF, and you can once again go to the drive that you want to go to. So I can go to my desktop and then my OneDrive CAD folder, and let's just try to print this as well. We're going to just say Save. File, Export PDF works pretty well in AutoCAD. I actually think it works a little bit better than Control Print. But in other programs like Revit, which is an architectural software, File, Print PDF is the only way to PDF, and you can't use Export. So in AutoCAD, Export might be your best option. All right, don't forget to save and subscribe.